Alright, Middle-Aged White Guy Reacts back again today with another video for you, and in today's video, I have a reaction for you, but it's not going to be music related. Alright, this is the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth trailer reaction. Now, this is part 2 of the Final Fantasy VII Remake. I am a huge Final Fantasy fan, alright? I played the first one on Nintendo when I was a child, and I've played, I've been playing them all my life. There's a bunch of physical copies. I have whatever in physical I don't have, I have digitally. My desktop, there's original Cloud going back to back with a remake Cloud there. So yeah, I'm a big fan of this stuff, and so very excited to watch this trailer. It was very hard for me not to click on it yesterday, but I managed. All right, so I'm ready now. I got you. So let's go ahead and watch this, and maybe we'll have something to talk about afterwards. Now, I don't expect them to give us much out of this. Okay, this is the first one. This will just kind of be like a little taste test, right? So I don't expect to get much information out of this. But we're going to keep our ears and our eyes open and try to see if they give us any hints on what they're doing with the story now that they've kind of changed it at the very end of Remake. So let's watch the trailer. I might pause it to say some things if I notice anything. If you're familiar with my music reactions, I'm a pauser. So we'll do that, and then maybe just have a little discussion afterwards. So let's watch the trailer and see what we're working with here. This is the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth first look trailer. Let's go. Oh, let's get us something like that. Okay. There we go. All right.
What we've done, that's set in stone.
I'm already going to pause because that's like a very similar shot as their first trailer for the remake, coming down from the sky like that. With the birds,
what we've done, that's set in stone. The past is forever. But the future, even if it has been written, can be changed. So focus...
That's a direct message to the player base. That's a direct message to the original player base right there. Listen to that again.
The future, even if it has been written, can be changed.
The future, even if it has been written, can be changed. So where they're at in the story, they still have future to go. Even if it has already been written, it's already been written out in the original, it can still be changed. Like, they're just confirming that this is not the same story anymore. This is not the same story anymore, and it doesn't have to be. It does not have to be the same story. We'll talk about that. We'll get into that. Let's go.
It is forever, but the future, even if it has been written, can be changed. So focus on the future, not the past.
I don't like that. Don't like that.
He wants to finish what he started.
Alright, that's gameplay.
He wants to reclaim his birthright.
Okay.
And rule.
Spoiler alert, if you have not played the original and you've only done like the first part of Remake and you're wondering why they're showing gameplay with your character with Sephiroth following them. Spoiler alert. Okay, enough. It is the Nibelheim flashback scene, so we definitely are getting the Nibelheim flashback. That is coming up probably very early in this next game, because we have gotten out of Midgar. The next stop is Calm, where they kind of stay to regroup, and then Cloud's going to go into this whole thing talking about his backstory, and this is part of that flashback. So it's confirmed we are getting the Nibelheim flashback. At least that's a good thing. That's true to the story.
He wants to reclaim his birthright and rule over the planet with Jenova at his side.
Yes, he does. Alright, so that's basically, they wrapped up Sephiroth's motivation, okay, and that's consistent with the original. To boil it down to its simplest form, is he wants to reclaim his birthright and rule over the planet. It's a little more convoluted than that. It's a little more complicated than that, but base level, 1,000-mile view, that's what it is.
Jenova at his side. I saw you lying there. I figured it was too late.
Wait, what are you implying? That I died? That I'm some kind of imposter?
Huh. Huh. Okay. Okay. That's interesting. That's really, really interesting. What is fact and what is fiction? If they're if that's how they're going to play with time, like they're trying to figure out, like obviously the characters are going to have some awareness that the timeline has been tampered with, that things are screwed up, that things aren't where they're, how they're supposed to be, things are out of place. Because he's talking to Aerith, and it still seems so funny. I still have a hard time calling her Aerith. To me, she is always Eris. But anyway, he is talking to Aerith saying, I seen you, basically you were dead. And, like, what are you saying? Like that I'm not real, I'm not really here, or whatever. So is this going to, sow confusion between the characters and maybe even mistrust? And that could be an interesting way to go about it. So like they're all kind of aware that they are in the wrong timeline or out of place, or maybe they've been displaced in time. And then their goal is to get back to the proper timeline in order to make sure that Sephiroth is stopped. That could be very interesting. That could be really freaking interesting. Like maybe, you know what? That's part of the discussion afterwards. Let's not go too crazy right now. Come on. We can go from here.
You were here with me 5 years ago. Where are you? What happened to you?
I'm trying so hard to find you.
Sorry. Feel like I failed you.
Zack brings him right outside of Midgar. Did he get him that far in Crisis Core? I believe so. I believe he gets it. So that doesn't show us anything as far as whether or not Zack is alive or dead. I don't think.
Sorry. Feel like I failed you.
I think it didn't. He was ambushed outside of Midgar, correct? I believe so. I mean, it's been, I was not as big into Crisis Core as I was into 7. I've played it a long time ago, and I can't quite remember the details of the ending. I know he was ambushed with an injured Cloud and fended off a bunch, and then just wave after wave kept coming after him. And I believe he does get Cloud close to Midgar, because that's how he was then found in an injured, delirious state and brought down to into the city, into the slums. So interesting, but I don't think that shows us anything we don't know.
Feel like I failed you.
Okay. Is that it? Next winner. Okay, so we got Winter of 23. That'll be pushed back. Man. Yeah, that's definitely with the pine trees. That's definitely the Nibelheim flashback. I haven't played Intergrade because I don't have a PS5. I need to buy a remake on PC and get Intergrade on it and just play it. All right. So, interesting. Not sure how I feel. I mean, they're confirming that the story's changing. They're confirming that they are definitely playing with time, parallel universes of some sort, multi-dimensional things, maybe. See, if they're going to go that way, all right, because my original theory after after playing Final Fantasy VII Remake was that the Sephiroth that we were dealing with in that game was Advent Children Sephiroth, evidenced by the one wing, the one black wing, and that he essentially summoned the Advent Children, Kadaj, Laj, and Kaz, or something like that, at the end of the game there to fight you, and then they became Bahamut, and all that stuff. Did he? No, he did. right? They became some. Yeah, they became Bahamut. And then, all right. So anyway, so since he used the Advent Children at the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake, and he had the one black wing, he is Advent Children Sephiroth. So an Advent Children Sephiroth has seen the events of the original. Okay, he has seen the events of Advent Children, and he knows who is responsible for keeping him from reaching his goals. And so this person, you know, and I don't want to get into spoilers, like heavy spoilers, because just in case, you know, you've only played Remake, you know, so we won't go too deep into that. But there's a person who's in a place who stops him twice at the ending of the original, at the ending of Advent Children, or at least has a big hand in stopping him from attaining his goals and taking control over the planet and everything. So his motivation, this Advent Children Sephiroth's motivation, is to go back to the beginning of those events and try to steer events in certain ways so that this certain person doesn't end up in a certain place, okay? Because if that person's not there, they can't stop Sephiroth. So, it would be a very interesting story that way, because there's every motivation to keep, even for our characters that we are following. There's every motivation for them to also keep that person out of that place, but they wouldn't understand why that person needed to be there without giving anything away. So that's kind of how I felt after the remake, that they're kind of just playing with time that way. Now it seems like the characters are definitely aware that there's issues with the timeline, that things aren't how they are supposed to be. And it'll be interesting, by basically destroying Fate at the end of Remake, have they now displaced themselves amongst several different timelines? And do they have to try to figure out the correct timeline to pursue stopping Sephiroth from? Okay, like they're going to have to choose a timeline to be in, or work their way back to get together into the correct one, because there's definitely things, if things happen certain ways, there's no stopping Sephiroth without massively changing the story. And then there's also, certain things need to be certain ways. We'll just leave it at that. I don't want to get, like I said, too spoiler heavy. So it's going to be interesting how they do this. I don't know if they're going to go kind of that route where people are like, these characters are displaced in time, and now there's trust issues. They don't know what's real and what's not. And it's a whole total other layer of mind F, on top of the convoluted things that are going on in the storyline originally, so to try to figure out that with a whole other layer of, parallel universes, timelines, being displaced, whatever, could be very interesting. It could also fall apart, though. I'll tell you this right now. It's still the ending. I know this, it's not going to end at Rebirth. Okay. They're probably going to, Christ, I don't even know where a good stopping point would be. Maybe after Juno. I don't know. Anyway, Cosmo Canyon, isn't that coming up soon, though? Anyway, they're not going to finish the story in Rebirth. But the ending, whenever it is, if it's a part 3, a part 4, a part 10, whatever, when they end this story, it has to still be tragic. Certain things can't happen. Certain people can't be around, so as long as the story is relatively consistent with kind of the storyline of the original while doing this whole timeline thing, if it's still a tragic ending at the end, good. Okay, you did a great job. You changed the story. You made it your own, and you pulled it off. But if you're going to give us rainbows and sunshines at the end of this story, it's just not going to work. It's not going to work. I hope that's not what they're setting us up to do. I don't want rainbows and sunshine, okay? But yeah, my philosophy, or my thoughts on that, though, is 90% of that remake was very faithful to the original, okay? It was very close to one-to-one to the original. And, they changed a couple of things, and I didn't care for. A couple of things they changed, I thought they did a good job handling, or maybe even did it better than the original. And they added a bunch of stuff. Some of it worked, some of it didn't. Overall, the game was fantastic, though. great storyline. Even if you just took the storyline as it was just from that game, you got a complete story from start to finish. So it was nice in that sense. And maybe that's why they've chosen to do this, is so they can give some sort of closure at the end of every game. So it makes you feel accomplished as a player. Not like you've been duped into having to wait and buy the next one. So they're trying to maybe give you complete stories in each part. But they treated it with such care and compassion for the original source material that I don't think they're going to go way off the rails here. Okay, I don't see that coming. Is it possible? Sure. But the level of respect they showed to the original, it just makes it, I find it hard to believe that they'll throw all that away for this part 2. In part 3 or part 4 or however many we get to. So I do still think we're getting essentially the same story. We're just going to go a much more roundabout way of getting there. Okay, we're adding extra layers on top of the story. So as long as the core components are the same, the ending is still tragic, we're golden. But you know, I don't like that they're telling the player base right off the bat, get over it, it's changing. That's pretty bold statements there, Square. So I guess we'll leave it at that. That'll do it. That'll be the reaction. Middle-aged white guy is out. Peace.